Hoodlums tore, her cardigan at noon, her shin sent him flying Esmeralda Esme. Salazar hugged her roomy navy cardigan tighter as she made her way through Crestwood Academy's packed corridors. Just 17, she was barely 5'2", with auburn hair styled in a long plait and hazel eyes that kept their secrets close. 4 months had gone by since her family's move from Oaxaca, Mexico, to this quiet American town, and Esme still felt like an outsider. The morning buzzer sounded as learners scurried to lessons. Esme kept her eyes down, dodging between chatty youngsters who scarcely saw her. She liked it that way best. Back in Mexico, her grandpa had shown her that sometimes being underestimated was the greatest power of all. If they only knew, she mused, sliding into honors chemistry and taking her usual spot in the back. Esme's peers viewed a shy immigrant girl with a slight accent. They had no idea she'd been doing capoeira since she was 7, that her grandpa Rafael had been a famous fighter in Mexico, or that she could floor a grown man with a quick kick. But she hid those skills for good reasons. Her grandpa had made her promise when they left Mexico she'd focus on her studies, on making a new start. Fighting had taken too much from them already. Her older cousin Miguel had fallen in with bad folks, using his moves for money in street brawls, until one night he never came home. The thought of her grandma's cries and her grandpa's sadness kept Esme's hands still, no matter how mean others were. Chadwick Chad Sterling noticed Esme her first week at Crestwood. At 18, he was 6'3" with a strong build from years of varsity wrestling. His dark blonde hair was always perfect, his clothes designer, and his crew trailed him like pups. Chad had ruled Crestwood's pecking order since sophomore year, and he knew how to find weakness. "Well, well, what's this?" Chad declared one Monday morning as Esme walked by his cubby. His voice had that special edge that made others stop to watch. "Little Miss Mexico thinks she can just stroll around here like she owns the place." Esme kept walking, jaw tight but face blank. She had learned early that bullies lived for reactions. "Hey, I'm talking to you," Chad snapped, catching her. His buddy Dusty Baker, a beefy guy with a mean grin, came up on Esme's other side, trapping her by the lockers. "Too good to answer when someone speaks to you?" "I don't want trouble," Esme said quietly, her accent making it sound softer than she meant. "I just want to get to class." Chad laughed loudly. "You hear that, Dusty? She doesn't want any trouble. How polite." He got close. "Well, this is our school, and we don't like stuck-up immigrants who think they're better than us." The hall got quiet as more learners stopped to watch. Esme's hands shook a little, but she stayed still. "Just walk away," she told herself. "Grandpa always said there's no honor in fighting someone who doesn't know what they're asking for." "Please move," Esme said, looking right at Chad. "I don't want to be late." Something flashed in Chad's eyes at her calm. He had wanted tears, begging, maybe anger. Instead, he saw something like pity. Knowing this small girl wasn't scared of him made him blush with shame and anger. "Think you're tough?" Chad moved closer, towering over Esme. "Think 'cause you come from some trashy dump you're tougher than us?" The casual racism hurt, but Esme had heard worse. What bothered her was how others watched, not caring. No one helped. It was fun for them. "I think you should let me pass," Esme said, her voice steady even though she was angry. Chad's hand shot out and shoved Esme's shoulder, sending her back against the lockers with a bang. "I think you should learn some respect." For a sec, Esme's muscles tightened with training. Her grandpa's voice rang, "Step back with your left foot, make space, drive the shin up and through." The move was so deep, she could feel her body wanting to move, to hit with force. Instead, she straightened her cardigan and picked up her satchel. "Okay," she said, and walked away. She heard Chad curse and Dusty laugh. Esme made it to geometry with seconds to spare, But Chad Sterling wasn't done with her. Over the weeks, the teasing got worse in a planned way. Chad and his crew saw Esme's not fighting back as a dare. They blocked her way, knocked books down, messed up her homework, and yelled about illegals when she passed. Dusty Baker was very creative. He found Esme's cubby combo and left mean notes inside. "Go home. No one wants you. Your English stinks." Esme found them folded between books, each one trying to break her. The stress was worse than fighting would have been. Esme took long routes to avoid Chad. She ate lunch in the library instead of the lunchroom, saying she had to study, but really to avoid shame. Brittany Britt Clark, a blonde girl with perfect makeup and a fake smile, led the words with care. "Esme, is it true girls in Mexico have to fight for food?" she asked, sounding worried. "I just ask, 'cause you look so serious. Are you hungry? Should we start a drive?" The worst part was how others acted. Most looked away, not happy but not helping. Some laughed, either for fun or to not be a target. Even teachers didn't see it. Esme started to hate school. She had faced danger in Mexico, but this was tiring. It wore her down like water on stone. 3 weeks in, Esme left a P English when Chad came up. "You know what I don't get about you, Mexico?" Chad's voice was friendly, making it scarier. "You just take it like you're a martyr. It's weird. Most would have snapped by now." Esme kept walking, breathing slow. "I don't see fighting." "No?" Chad was curious. "I think you're a coward. I think under that shy act, you're a scared mouse who can't handle what happens if she fights back." They got to Esme's cubby, and she worked the combo. She felt Chad's heat. "My dad says you folks come here thinking you can use American kindness," Chad said, louder to get attention. "Says you snuck across in some truck and now think you belong in class with real Americans." Esme stopped. His mean words about her family, calling her a racist name, hit harder than before. "Your dad sounds dumb," she said, not turning. The hall held its breath. Chad blushed at the insult. "What did you say?" Esme closed her cubby and faced him, hazel eyes calm. "I said your dad sounds dumb. Anyone who teaches their son to judge people by where they come from instead of who they are, that's dumb." Chad was shocked she fought back. Then he got angry, making others move. "You little brat," he growled. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." "You have no idea who you're dealing with," Esme said, still calm but sharper. Her tone made Chad stop for a sec. Then Dusty came up, and Britt got her phone out to record. "We'll see," Chad said, close enough Esme had to look up. "Tomorrow, noon. You and me settle this." Esme nodded. "Okay." That night, Esme sat in her family's small kitchen, staring at her homework while her grandpa made supper. Rafael Salazar moved like fighters do, hands fast as he cut veggies. At 46, he had the strength that made him a star in Mexico's capoeira scene. "Mija, you're quiet," Rafael said. "Trouble at school?" Esme thought of Chad, the weeks of teasing and the fight tomorrow, but she saw her grandpa's hands, how they moved, and remembered why they left Mexico. Her cousin Miguel had been strong, and it ruined them. "Just a test," Esme lied, feeling bad. Rafael nodded but watched her. "You know, Miguel looked like that when he had a problem he had to solve alone." The mention of Miguel made Esme's chest hurt. Her cousin had been her hero, who taught her moves. Miguel was strong, brave, everything Esme wanted to be, until it got him in trouble. "I remember," Esme said. "Miguel thought his strength was for fighting," Rafael said, moving to the stove. "He thought because he could win, he should. That power was meant to be used." Rafael paused. "I took too long to teach him that real strength." "Real strength is knowing when not to fight." Esme teared up. "What if someone doesn't give you a choice?" Rafael looked at her, serious. "There is always a choice, Mija, but sometimes all the choices are hard." He sat. "Trouble at school?" Esme met his eyes and saw he knew. "There's a boy who's been mean. He says things about us, about Mexico, about me. Raphael nodded. And what do you want to do? Esme thought of Chad's face, Dusty's notes, Brit's words. She thought of how others didn't see her, how teachers ignored it. I want him to stop, Esme said. And if he won't stop? Esme met his eyes, seeing her own strength there. Then I want him to know he messed with the wrong person. Raphael was quiet, looking at her. Then he got a small box from above the fridge. Inside was his old mouthguard and wraps. Miguel's mistake was not fighting, Raphael said, touching the leather. His mistake was fighting for the wrong reasons, for money, for pride. He looked at Esme. But sometimes, Mija, we fight to protect what's important. Sometimes we fight not to hurt, but to show them they can't hurt us. Esme felt something shift. If he won't listen, Raphael said, then he needs a lesson, but promise me. What? Promise me that when it's over, it's over. No revenge, no pride. You teach him, then walk away. Esme nodded. I promise, Raphael smiled. Then let's get you ready. They spent an hour on moves Esme hadn't done in months. Her body knew them. The kick, power from her hips, space. Raphael watched. Remember, he said, you're not destroying him. You're teaching him respect. There is a difference. The next day, Esme walked into Crestwood with a new feel. She wore the same cardigan, carried the same bag. But she was different. Some noticed, but didn't know why. Her back was straighter, her look steadier. Chad waited at her cubby, his crew around him, and a crowd who knew about the fight. Word had spread online. When Esme got there, 30 kids were in the hall. Well, Chad said loudly, look who showed up. I thought you ran back to Tijuana. Oaxaca, Esme said, working her combo, and I don't run from bullies. The crowd moved, feeling her change. Brit pushed closer, recording. Dusty cracked his knuckles. Chad looked surprised by her calm. We'll see, Chad said, grabbing her shoulder and turning her. Think you can disrespect me and walk away? Esme looked at him, and Chad saw something that made him step back. I think you should let go. Her voice, her certainty, made the crowd quiet. Chad felt it, but his pride pushed him. Or what? Chad asked, holding tight. What will you do, little girl? Esme was calm. I'll ask once more to let me go. Chad laughed. And if I don't, then you'll learn about respect. The hall was silent but for the lights. Chad looked at the faces, waiting. You know what? Chad said louder. I'm tired of your act. I'm tired of you acting like you own the place. Time someone taught you how things work here. His hand moved from her shoulder to grab her cardigan. Maybe you need to learn that immigrants don't get to talk back to... Chad didn't finish. Esme was so fast, most missed it. Chad was grabbing her cardigan. The next, he was bent over, gasping, his face red. Esme had been perfect. She grabbed Chad's wrist, stepped back, and kicked him in the gut. Not to hurt him, but enough to stop him for a while. The crowd gasped. Dusty stood still, watching Chad struggle. Brit's phone caught everything. Esme let go and stepped back, ready for more. Her grandpa's training was clear, controlled, never too much force. Are you okay? Esme asked, sounding worried. Chad straightened, red-faced and struggling. He was angry, but also realized he had been wrong. You hit me, Chad said, barely able to speak. You grabbed me, Esme said. I defended myself. I'm going to destroy you, Chad said, getting stronger. You don't know what you started. Esme was calm, but something shifted, making others step back. I know what I started. The question is, do you know when to stop? Chad looked at the crowd, seeing himself fail. Months of teasing, of ruling the immigrant girl were gone. This isn't over, Chad snarled, pushing past Esme. But he sounded unsure. Dusty followed, looking at Esme with fear and respect. Brit lowered her phone, staring at Esme. The crowd left, talking. Esme got her books, hands steady. Word spread fast. By lunch, Everyone knew Esme Salazar had dropped Chad Sterling with a kick, and the story got bigger each time. Esme ate in the library but wasn't alone. Some kids walked by, looking at her. Some came up, wanting to be friends. "That was amazing what you did to Chad," said a sophomore named Lisa, sitting across from Esme. "I can't believe you knew karate." "Capoeira," Esme said, "and I don't like hurting people." "But he deserved it," Lisa said. "Chad's been a jerk. Someone needed to stop him." Esme closed her book and looked at Lisa. "Where were you when he was teasing me?" Lisa hesitated. I wanted to say something, but it was easier to ignore it," Esme said, "until I did something." Lisa left fast, but others came. Esme answered questions, mostly from people who had ignored her. Chad wasn't in the lunchroom, saying he had a stomach bug. Esme knew he was fine, but his pride was hurt. After class, Esme walked to the exit and Chad tried to get revenge. She saw him coming, Dusty and two wrestlers with him. Chad was set, his shame turning into anger. Esme stopped and let them come, her bag loose and her body ready. Others watched. "Think you're tough, huh?" Chad yelled from 20 feet. "Think one lucky hit makes you a badass?" Esme said nothing, watching them spread out. She saw Chad's anger, but also his need to be strong. "See, the thing is," Chad said closer, "I wasn't ready. I was trying to be nice, trying to teach you without hurting you." He was mean. "But you want to play rough? We can play rough." Dusty stepped up, cracking his knuckles. 4-on-1 seems fair for someone who fights dirty. Esme felt her grandpa's training, seeing routes out. But she remembered his words. 4-on-1 was too much. "I don't want to fight you all," Esme said, her voice clear. "This should be between Chad and me." Chad laughed. "You don't make the rules anymore. You embarrass me. Now you see what happens when you mess with friends." But as Esme tried to run, something happened. "Hey!" a voice yelled. What's going on?" Everyone saw Ben Carter, a senior who played football and was respected, walking over with his crew. Ben was tall and strong. Chad hesitated. "Nothing to do with you, Carter. Just dealing with the new girl." Ben looked at the 4 boys, then at the crowd, and got angry. "Looks like 4 guys jumping 1 girl. That's cowardice." "She started it," Dusty said. "She hit Chad." "I heard," Ben said, his voice loud. "I heard Chad grabbed her and she defended herself. Now you're planning revenge." He came closer, his teammates with him. "That's not how real men act." Chad blushed. "This isn't your fight, Carter." "When I see 4 guys ganging up on a girl, it is," Ben said. "Want to settle this? Do it 1-on-1 or walk away." The air was thick. Chad looked around, realizing Ben made him look weak. Esme was thankful and annoyed. She liked Ben's help, but wanted to do this herself. But her grandpa said, "Accept help when it's offered." "Fine," Chad said, angry. "You want 1-on-1? We'll do it." He looked at Esme, eyes blazing. "You and me, now no help." Ben started to say no, but Esme stopped him. "Thank you," she told Ben, "but I need to finish this." Ben looked at her and stepped back. "Your choice. But if it gets unfair, I'm helping." Esme nodded, then faced Chad. The crowd was bigger, excited for the fight. Kids got their phones out. Chad took off his jacket and gave it to Dusty, his moves sharp. At 6'3" and 200 pounds, he towered over Esme. "Last chance to leave," Chad said, rolling his shoulders. "I won't be nice 'cause you're a girl." Esme took off her cardigan, showing a shirt that showed her muscles. Some gasped. Esme looked different. Her shoulders were strong, her arms tough, and she moved easily. "I wouldn't want you to," Esme said, calm but excited. Chad rushed forward, using his size to beat her before she could use whatever move she had used before. He was sloppy but strong, fueled by anger. Esme moved like water. She avoided Chad's swing, moving to his left as her hands came up in the capoeira guard her grandpa had taught her. Chad kept going, and Esme's elbow hit his ribs. Chad stumbled, surprised, and turned to her. This time he was careful, realizing she had skills he hadn't seen. "Come on, Chad," Dusty yelled. "She's half your size." Chad faked a left and threw a right cross that would have dropped others. Esme leaned back as the punch missed, then stepped forward and kicked Chad in the gut. Chad caught Esme's leg and smiled, thinking he had stopped her. Esme's grandpa had taught her what to do. She pushed off and spun, her free leg hitting Chad in the head. Chad let go as the spin used his grip against him. Chad stepped back, dazed. The crowd gasped at the move. Esme landed well, keeping the space. "This is crazy," someone whispered. "She's a fighter." Chad shook his head, respecting her skills. He had wanted to win with size, but was being outdone. "Want to keep going?" Esme asked, breathing slow. "Or are we done?" Chad rushed again, trying to wrestle her down where his size mattered. He wrapped his arms around her and tried to slam her down. Esme showed why capoeira was called the art of 8 limbs. As Chad lifted her, Esme grabbed his head and kneed him in the face. The flying knee was a great move when done right. Esme was perfect. Chad's head snapped back, blood coming from his nose as he dropped Esme and stumbled. The crowd gasped and felt bad. Chad was bloody and confused. Esme landed well and moved back, ready but not angry. This wasn't about hurting Chad, it was a lesson. "It's over," Esme said. "You're done." Chad wiped blood and stared, confused. He had never been hurt in a fight. He was failing in front of the school. "I'm not done," Chad said, but he sounded unsure. He could taste blood, feel his nose swell, and wanted to stop. Esme saw his fear and pushed. "Yes, you are," she said, moving forward. "You can get hurt worse, or you can accept you messed with the wrong person and leave with what you have left." The parking lot was quiet, but for Chad's breathing and the traffic. Everyone knew they were seeing a change. Chad looked at the crowd, seeing himself fail. His friends couldn't help. Ben Carter watched. "This isn't over," Chad said, but it was empty. "Yes, it is," Esme said. "You're going to leave me alone. You're going to leave the others alone, and you're going to think before you grab someone again." Chad started to argue, but Ben Carter stepped up, showing Esme had help. "She's right, Chad," Ben said. "You're done. Go get your nose fixed." Chad knew he had lost more than a fight. His name, his power, his ability to scare others. It was gone. He walked to the school, bloody and sad. Dusty and the others followed, looking at Esme. The crowd left, talking. Esme put her cardigan on and got her bag, trying to be unseen again. "That was great," Ben said, respecting her. "Where did you learn that?" "My grandpa taught me," Esme said. "He was a fighter in Mexico." Ben nodded, knowing about family. "You did well. Chad needed that lesson." Esme looked at the school, feeling sad and happy. "I didn't want to hurt him. I just wanted him to understand." "Trust me," Ben smiled. "He understands now, and so does everyone else." The next days, Esme was popular. Kids who had ignored her knew her name, nodded, and made space for her at lunch. The video of her fight spread and made her a star. But more, the teasing stopped, not just for Esme, but for others. Chad's loss showed actions had results. Chad was different. His nose healed, but his ego didn't. He moved like a ghost, not scaring anyone. 3 weeks later, Esme left school and found Chad waiting, alone and nervous. "I wanted to say something," Chad said, not arrogant. Esme waited. "I was wrong," Chad said, the words hard. "About you, about my words, about everything." Esme looked at him, seeing he felt bad. "Why?" Chad looked down. "Because I was angry about home, and I took it out on you because you were easy. Because I was weak and needed to hurt others to feel strong." The words hung. Esme saw they cost him. "And?" Esme asked. "And I'm sorry," Chad said, meeting her eyes. "I know that doesn't fix it, but I wanted you to know I understand why you stopped me." Esme was quiet, thinking of her grandpa's words. "Thank you." Chad nodded and started to leave. then stopped. "I'm glad someone taught me that lesson, even if it was hard." Esme watched him, feeling relieved. The fighting that had ruined her cousin's life didn't have to happen. People could learn, even bullies. That night, Esme sat with her family, helping her grandpa like before. But it felt different, lighter, like she had found her strength. "So," Raphael said, "I heard something happened at school." Esme smiled, knowing news spread fast. Chad apologized. Raphael nodded. "That takes guts, for him to admit he was wrong and for you to accept it." "You said strength is knowing when not to fight," Esme said. "But you never said it's also knowing when to stop." Raphael looked at her proud. "Some lessons are learned on your own. You had to find that." Esme thought of Chad's loss, the fear and respect she saw, the power she had. "Do you think Miguel could have learned if he had more time?" Raphael was quiet. "I think Miguel was like you, but he lived differently, with different choices." He faced Esme. "You can use your strength to protect, not destroy." Esme nodded, understanding. She thought of Ben, the others who looked to her to help. Her win over Chad was about stopping a bully. It was about showing that strength without care was weakness. The next day, Esme walked into Crestwood, not hiding. She had learned respect wasn't earned by being unseen, that standing up meant being strong enough to help. As she moved, Esme saw things she had missed. A freshman being teased, a girl crying, a boy's book scattered. Esme had been unseen, hoping to avoid being a target. Now she knew her grandpa's lessons were about acting and helping. Chad Sterling had taught her that the world tested you, but Esme had taught him that strength without wisdom was weakness, and everyone deserved to be treated well. Their fight would fade, but the lessons would last. Esme had found her voice. Chad had learned that actions had results, and that true strength came from helping others, and they had found that the best battles weren't won by fighting, but by changing, growing, and becoming better.